Every day in the USA, people find themselves in court.
Good morning, everyone. Today is January 13th, 2025. We have a full docket today. Beautiful day, great to be alive. Hope your team won yesterday. It's a January day in Michigan. It's white, it's cold, snow flurries on the way in this morning. I knew it was going to be a good day. I heard Tom Petty singing what I had always thought was a Jimmy Buffett song called Stories We Could Tell. I'd never heard the Tom Petty version of that. It's an old song. It was on Jimmy Buffett's A1A album about 50 years ago, but I learned this morning the song was actually written by John B. Sebastian of the Living Spoonful. It's a good song. I liked it. I like hearing that version of it, and I like to think that Tom Petty and Jimmy Buffett could sit on a bed in some hotel and talk about the stories they could tell. I always start by leaning to my left, turn on the record. All right, we're a little behind, but not too bad. Deputy Tafflinger's ready to go, so we thought we'd better get going. We have two difficult drinking driving sentences this morning. The first is Payton Jeffrey Krauss. The file number here is 242006SD. That's you, sir?
Yes, Your
And
Honor.
you're here with your attorney, Mr. Trevor Workman.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Daniel Frazine drew the, all right, very good. Drew the assignment of the pre-sentence in this one and has prepared the screening report. I was troubled about this case because of where Mr. Krauss lives and where he works. Although some things have changed a little bit since the time of this incident back in November. Daniel said to me just before we walked in, they sure have done a lot. I used you as an example at New Judge School last week. I didn't state your name. I just was giving an example of a collateral consequence of a criminal conviction. And one of the collateral consequences here is you're going to lose your driver's license for a period of time. And you had a very good job that was very far away from where you lived without good public transportation. And the collateral consequence of that regarding your job or residence was significant. Anyway, this is a bit of an unusual recommendation by Mr. Frazine. Mr. Workman, what would you like me to know?
Well, Your Honor, may I approach briefly?
Yes.
So one of the things that I would like to provide to the court right now is an update on the things that Payton has been doing. I asked him to put that together and put dates and times on there. I think that Payton is one of those, unfortunately, rare people that we see that gets in trouble, immediately recognizes how bad it was, how much he put himself and everybody else in jeopardy in his life, and began just taking steps to correct everything. By the time he came in and hired me in my office, he had already consulted with counselors and went down a path that usually a court is forcing a defendant to go down. So the court has in front of it that list there, and it's clear that he's going to multiple recovery sessions. He's going to a counselor. He's been continuing to do that for months now, and he has shared with me today that it's something that he feels he's getting something out of and isn't going to be important for him moving forward. And he said he's going to continue doing these things even when this court case is over. And based on the type of person he is shown to be and the type of things he's been doing, this is a defendant that I believe will continue to do those things. I did have an opportunity to review the report done by the probation department, as well as the private substance abuse assessment that we had done for Payton. And I think the sort of worst thing that he has going for him here is the fact that he was able to consume enough to get that high blood alcohol content. And I think that's also why he has taken this so seriously in trying to get that under control. He has been abstinent since, and he shared with me that he's going to continue to be abstinent because he knows how much he has riding on it. He feels a lot of shame and embarrassment here, and that's another portion of this he's been working through. But I don't think this is the type of defendant that you will ever see in this courthouse again. And we're asking the court in this matter to consider fines and costs. Thank you.
I have to say, Mr. Krauss, I'm impressed by what you've done. I think so is Mr. Frazine. I'll hear from him first, then I'll speak, and then I'll hear from you. Daniel, what's your thought here?
Well, obviously, when you first look at this at quick glance, you see that very high BAC and the extreme speed involved. You know, I think it was over 30 over the posted speed. And right, we could go, wow, this could have been really, really easily a serious injury or somebody even dying in it. And he understood that. And I think the thing that impressed me most was he was very humble when he called and spoke to me, and he was really embarrassed, but also very, very thankful that no one got hurt, because he took this to heart and he really realized what it really could have been easily. I mean, there's a lot of people with a lot less case facts than this that aren't quite as bad, where something got a lot worse. After speaking with him, we spoke on length. He shared with me everything he's doing. For some reason, he had a very casual notion to just drink, and he'd been working hard. He took a severance package. He wanted to try something different, get a better job opportunity. And I think he just was like, well, I could use a beer or whatever. He said it was, it was just, I just kind of thought it was okay. And he goes, I can't believe I did it. And then I went out afterwards. He got caught speeding. But then right away, like within 24 hours, he started getting into services right away. And I wish I had half my people doing what he was doing. I mean, he got community work service done. He did a substance abuse assessment. And when I spoke to him, he had done over 5 sessions and he was continuing with that. So I think he said he might have 1 or 2 more under his belt by the time he came to court. He did a online VAP and he attends Celebrate Recovery. He has also secured a new job as a supervisor in the microbiology department at Abbott Labs, which is the court is aware of as a very good company we're working for. He does have a little hurdle he's going to have to deal with for the next 30 days at least, and he's well aware of that. But I can't remember the last time I recommended fines and costs and time served, but I did in this case. And I agree. I don't think he's going to be someone that's going to come back.
Mr. Krauss, what would you like me to know?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've been regretting this ever since that night that it happened. I was super distraught immediately, and for the past few months, it's been weighing on me since. I think the victim impact panel kind of drove it home, the consequences and damages, community impact that violations like this have. And it's been really hard for me to even believe that I did something like this. Since then, I've been doing all that I can on top of getting the new job and school to try to make this right, to prevent something like this from ever happening again, which I know. So right now I'm attending the Celebrate Recovery and then counseling, really looking at perspective, impact, and then coming up with strategies for coping and prevention, just to solidify my knowing that this is never going to happen again.
All right, thank you. Have a seat. I remember when you were in high school at senior honors night, all the things that go with being a high school kid, going to University of Michigan and starting a successful career. But something was going on in early November. I misunderstood. I thought you were still working at Zoetis, but apparently had you taken your severance before November 7th or after?
Yes, so I took the severance package a month before, So I was still employed by them and on their payroll, but I was looking for jobs and I landed this new one with Abbott.
All right, well, go ahead and sit down.
Mid-December.
You were bored and lonely. This is a Thursday night, November 7th. You were drinking at home. You were drinking enough that you lost your judgment to drive from where you live near Marcellus or Jones or Lawton, anyway, west of Three Rivers, all the way to town to go to the Riviera. Hopefully they wouldn't have even served you in the condition you were in, but they were closed. So then you thought, well, I'll go to Sam's. Sam's was probably closed by that point on a Thursday night also. And then you just weren't paying attention to what you're doing. You're going 60 miles an hour down South Main Street. And then you woke up and looked in the mirror and thought, what did I just do? There were all kinds of red flags. One, this was a weeknight. Two, you had a very high blood alcohol level. Three, you'd driven a long, complicated way to get from where you live to where you got stopped. And we're gonna drive some more miles before it ended. But I guess you jumped in with both feet. Some of this you did before you contacted Mr. Workman. His office is very good at getting people plugged into these services prior to plea and certainly prior to sentencing. But you're at Pastor Jerry Celebrate.
Yes.
How many people are attending that?
Anywhere from 20 to 50. There's a lot of people that attend, and I think it's been great. It's a good service. It makes me feel good, and then also perspective and strengthening myself to prevent something like this happening again.
Did you make new friends?
I knew somebody there before, but now most of the faces are familiar, so I greet everybody and talk to them, say hello.
Some of my sobriety court people are doing Celebrate, and there are a couple of them. The original one that Jerry was part of was at Riverside Church, and now he runs his own. And I've had some people that are still in it who turn things around. We don't know when someone gets a drunk driving charge when they're young, whether it's an indication of a big problem or a mistake that won't be repeated. You're right. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. It's expensive. It's inconvenient. And you don't want to do it again. For many years, Judge McManus, the judge on the right in the pictures there, had a policy here in 3B District Court that everybody got 2 days in jail for drunk driving, 1 day sober the sentence day, and 1 day drunk the night they probably slept through. And that was the policy here for many, many years. We've faded from it recently, but there's a recent case from the Michigan Court of Appeals, City of Auburn Hills, says you can't do that. You can't have a sentencing policy in that particular jurisdiction. They sent everybody to jail or probation for driving suspended. And they said you can't do that. You can't have a sentence policy that you follow. You have to take each case on its individual merits and use some sort of unclear proportionality standard to do the sentences. We're still trying to figure out what that case means, but it does mean you can't have a policy where everybody gets 1 day sober and 1 day drunk. So the facts of your case are relatively bad in that you drove a long way. You had a high blood alcohol level. You were going 60 and a 30. But you were polite, respectful, cooperative with the officers. What did they do with your Colorado? Did they tow it or did it get parked someplace?
They towed it to Steers and then I picked it up the next morning.
How much was that?
$210, I think.
Steers or Shears here in Centerville?
Cheers, yes.
All right, well, you're lucky. It could have been a lot worse than that.
It's pretty cheap. From what
Yeah, but anyway, so the whole thing is an inconvenient nuisance. I'm sure your parents were not happy about this. All right, so what's your plan to get from where you live to Sturgis for this job at Abbott?
I don't have an exact plan yet, but I'm hoping that I can possibly lean on family to get me there for the month that I would have my license suspended.
Yeah, the problem is you're a long way from anywhere.
Yeah, it's about the same type of drive, 40 to 50 minutes to get to work.
Well, as Daniel said, it's one of our best local employers. It's a good company to work for and, but if it is proportional, I guess I'm supposed to, I'm not supposed to, I do try to take each case on its own merits. Now, for whatever reason, the city prosecutor held the line at an OUIL in this case, even though it's a first offense. In the next case, the facts are much worse, but the county prosecutor reduced it to impaired. That time it was Mr. Rognus. I'm not sure they would do that now. It's a new year. The case in the city of Auburn Hills says I can't have a hard and fast sentencing policy, which I'd like to think I haven't anyway for several years. We do have our own sentencing guidelines that we use to help address this. But there's nothing to put you on probation for. You've already done everything that I was ordered to do on probation, including the victim impact panel, treatment. I don't know whether you need this, but you're doing it. And I think you're going to continue to do it. This carries a $300 fine, a $75 crime victims' rights fee, a $50 state minimum fee, a $50 screening fee. We'll cut it in half because of what you'd already done. How much was the police reimbursement, Daniel?
I think it was 120, I think.
That is correct, 120.
Yes, 120 TRPD.
It was in the police report. I guess there's nothing else in here. $595. There's no victim impact fee. You've already done it. You did post $200 a bond. So you owe $395. Let me look at that bond. Make sure it's not 2,010%. No. $395 due in 30 days. We'll make that due by February
Blessing.
14th. 1 day jail credit, 1 day. You're certainly the first person this year to receive this type of a sentence. But what you've done since you got arrested, maybe more than anybody did through all of last year. You also have the collateral consequence of trying to figure out how to get back and forth to work. Anyway, you owe me $395 by middle of February. If you need more time, come see me. All right, Mr. Krauss, I don't expect I'll see you in here I might run into you somewhere like a basketball game or something, but I don't expect to see you in here.
You will not.
All right, you're good to go. All right, they just don't get any easier. Here's our next one. Further complicate things, Mr. Huff, who prepared the report, isn't here. He's ill today.
Oh,
And he and I had several discussions about this case. He was very frustrated. This is file number 241517 OD, People versus Lori Ann DeMoure. She's here with her lawyer, Mr. Ross Truckee. As I indicated, Matt Huff prepared the screening report. He's recommending a jail sentence. There are several issues here. One, the defendant's on probation in Kalamazoo County and was on probation at the time of this arrest. So Kalamazoo County kind of lurks in the background. Two, on one or more occasions when Mr. Huff called Ms. DeMoure to discuss the case, she was really too intoxicated to even make any meaningful communication. So that was both a violation of her probation and her bond, but she's struggling. I had the probation department give her a preliminary breath test this morning just to make sure, and her numbers are 0-0. So that was encouraging because the incident in question occurred early in the morning and the facts are bad. So with all that in mind, Mr. Truckee, what would you like me to know?
Well, I guess I'd inquire of the dates Mr. Huff made these contacts where he alleges that she was intoxicated, if that's available to me.
I don't have it. Let me see if I can see. I know it was at least once. I thought it may have been twice.
I guess I bring that up because there was an adjournment in this matter from December 17th, and it was related to Miss DeMoure's medical issue. She had a throat problem.
Yes, I remember that.
And there has been some issues medically that I just wouldn't want something that was a legitimate medical issue to be considered intoxication when sometimes over the phone, you know.
All right, fair enough. We may need to wait till Mr. Huff is available. But
good sleep.
go ahead.
And the other thing, in the report, it indicates 17:03 hours, which if I'm doing my math, isn't that 5 o'clock in the afternoon?
Well, let me look, because I was looking at the ticket.
And
Would
the
you
ticket
send
is funny. In the police report, there's 1703.
7:31 a.m. is what it says on the ticket.
And to reconcile that, the bank isn't open. That's my bank. And I
Well,
can't get money out
so-
of it.
I wasn't here Friday. Would you email me your copy of the report?
Yeah, I can do that.
Mr. Huff refers to the report, but it's not included in my file. And I tried to get it today
And this was a city case.
from the city, and the person that handles it for the city wasn't there. So Matt had the report, but I didn't. So I was trying to reconcile that also, that the ticket says it was at 7:31, and I thought, well, the bank isn't even open at 7:31.
I suspect the one got dropped off somewhere and it's supposed to be 17, which would put it at 5.
Which still wouldn't be AM, but
Yeah, I don't know where the AM comes from. I've sent you the report.
all right, thank you. It may take a minute to go through our cake, our structure. There it goes. Thank you. All right, go ahead. and tell me what else you want me to know.
Well, I believe Miss,
Yeah, 1703, which is 5 o'clock. So that makes more sense than what's on the ticket.
and I believe Miss DeMoure has an alcohol problem, Judge. And I think she has for a long time. And I think she recognizes that now too. In her interview with Mr. Huff, she talks about drinking tequila as kind of the go-to. And you know, I've been around the block a little, but drinking straight tequila is a kind of a graduated way of getting there. One thing I'd like to point out, it's only about 3/10 of a mile from her address on Lincoln up to Arbor. If for what it's worth, no amount of driving is acceptable in that condition, but there is something to be said for that. Of course, recognizing that it's a dense 3/10 of a mile. Mr. Moore is in care with, she sees Betsy at Pivotal as well as Bradley via telehealth. Because I think underlying all of this, there's a couple factors that they're not excuses, but they're explanations to how she got here. Back in 2014 or thereabouts, she had a couple mental health diagnoses. There was a psychosis episode that she says was, they diagnosed her with a schizophrenia family disorder. She doesn't report having delusions or anything of that nature since that time. But also there was an obsessive compulsive disorder diagnosis at that time. She also suffers from severe arthritis and vascular disease and COPD, for which some combination of these lead her to receive disability income. And coupled with that, she's the primary caretaker for her 84-year-old mother who has Parkinson's. And I guess just to be candid, nothing will make you want to drink more than watching your parent die. I say that from experience. And I think that this caretaker situation is something that she wants to be able to continue doing. She worries about her mother being placed in a nursing home or what have you. But I think that it's not too hard to put these factors together and recognize how somebody gets to this point. Her conduct on the day of the incident was fairly bizarre. I think that she got in the bag. She was drunk, and then things that don't make sense started to make sense for her. Probably thought, hey, I'll pop up there to the bank. I got to go get my cigarettes. In the police report, it indicates that she does go up there every Friday. The staff recognizes her by face. It's a small bank, and you know, they recognized her and they immediately noted that something was different about her that day. So I guess the key here, well, going back to the Kalamazoo case, she's reported that was related to traveling for a doctor's appointment for her mother, I believe. She was hauling her up there. That doesn't excuse having been drinking beforehand, but it kind of fits with my theory of her mental process to get to this point. Obviously a 0.224, which is the blood alcohol I have from the lab, not the 0.24 that's indicated on the sentencing guideline. It's a distinction, not much of a difference once you're over 0.2, but you know, there's 40 some years of this, and it's come to a screeching halt in 2023, 24 for Miss DeMoure. We had a lot of discussions about sobriety court because I do see her as an intelligent person that could really benefit from that. But she doesn't want to set herself up for failure, knowing that she's not going to be a driver. That's not really a thing that she's worried about with her income and things of that nature. And she doesn't want to sign up for something only to have it be too many appointments, too many what have yous. I do believe that she would continue with her pivotal services. She reports that she's got over a month fully sober. She's not going to sit here and claim that it's been ever since my arrest, like you hear all the time, but she's over a month now with no alcohol. We're forced noticing changes in her body and her well-being due to that month plus of sobriety. She's attended a few meetings. I just had a hard time with that because of transportation, and she doesn't have the technological requirements to do she has a flip phone. She's kind of old fashioned, so that's something that I've strongly encouraged her, and I think that she sees the value in. But all this being said, it's not acceptable, but it makes sense, is I guess the thing I'd want to present to the board. That we see how this all fits together to cause behavior that society doesn't want. And with that being said, a 60-year-old woman with severe health issues and a 84-year-old mother at home that requires her for cooking, cleaning, medicine deposits. I've asked the court to consider all of those when looking at the recommendation by the agent. Thank you.
Good morning.
Is it still morning?
It is here.
No, I was just trying to get chairs squared away downstairs for the meeting.
Well, you got your cane in your opposite hand, so maybe we're making some progress.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the only reason I'm really on it is so I don't slip and fall on the ice outside.
All right.
I mean, when I was moving the chairs around down the lake room, I was walking around without it.
All right. Well, we're in the middle of a sentence here, so. All right. That was the alleged Andrew Rognus back from his hip surgery.
Oh, it was a hip surgery? That's not what they told me.
Well, it was hip, wasn't brain
So do what
surgery.
I need.
He's doing.
Kept saying it was good.
All right. Now, obviously, this was the case we considered for sobriety court. And one of the ones that I think was a matter of life and death. The other factor is the defendant's on probation, and getting arrested for drunk driving while you're on probation for drunk driving would very often result in a jail sentence. So some of the question was, would she rather do her jail time here or do it in Kalamazoo? Our suspicion was she would rather do it here. And to some extent, Kalamazoo was waiting to see what we did before they proceeded with their probation violation. The other factor, we were aware of her throat issues, which drinking a pint of tequila or a fifth of tequila a day certainly doesn't help in that regard. But I'm impressed if you say you've been 30 days sober. I can kind of tell just by looking at you. How long has it been since you've been sober for 30 days? Years and years?
Yes.
So sobriety court is one of the answers to this, but couple problems. One, you're not really interested in keeping your license. And two, there are a lot of logistical requirements. You have to get to places. Now you live right in town, but you have to get to the day reporting center. You have to get to your counseling sessions. You have to get to some of the meetings with me. A lot of them are virtual, but you can appear in sobriety court virtually. You can appear in our treatment group virtually. But you have to go to AA, you have to go to other treatment, you have to do your testing live. And it can be expensive also. I'm doing my best, try not to make sobriety court something that only people with money can afford, because often a long time of alcohol, substance abuse disorder means you don't have any money. You've burned a lot of bridges.
I lost everything when I lost the farm, when my husband divorced me, my ex divorced me.
Yes.
I lost everything. I walked
Well,
out with nothing. He made me sign off on the farm.
which was the DeMoure farm?
Yes,
Yes. You're a wolf, correct?
yes.
All right, and you married into the DeMoure family.
And-
Well, I don't want to get into that.
I think you probably knew my brother, Mike, my oldest brother, Mike, that passed in April.
Yes, he just did pass.
Yeah, that's another reason that
Well, that's water under the bridge, whatever your reason for drinking.
Well,
Plus
that
you
was
were,
the reason for me to quit. That's what killed him.
I wish Matt were here. He gives a pretty dismal prognosis. This case is extremely aggravated. In January of 23, she was involved in an accident where she was driving under the influence. While on bond in that case, she was arrested for operating while intoxicated yet again. She refused the breath test and was belligerent with the officers. She hadn't yet been convicted of Kalamazoo when she got arrested for this. But she refused the breath test, was belligerent with the officer. She was in violation of a restricted license at the time. She was a danger to society in 2023 and in 2024. Ms. DeMoure suffers from a horrendous substance abuse problem. Despite the fact she is facing serious jail time, she cannot discontinue her alcohol abuse. It is only at this pace, it's only a matter of time before she seriously injures herself or somewhere else. Perhaps the only mitigating factor present is that Ms. DeMoure has acknowledged the need for help by seeing a therapist for a substance abuse issue. She was willing to admit she has mental health troubles contributing to her situation. This is a difficult case. Ms. DeMoure is clearly held captive by her addiction so much that she prioritizes intoxication over the safety of herself and others. Well, if it was that easy, everybody would just stop. If getting arrested for drunk driving means you never got arrested again, we sure have a lot less drunk driving.
I would note that January of 2023 was the offense in Kalamazoo, and Mr. Moore does report, it doesn't excuse, but it mitigates possibly. There was some weather-related issues with the accident as well.
That accident wasn't my fault, and my mom can vouch for that.
It doesn't excuse the blood alcohol
Right.
part of it, but I don't think there was recklessness or extreme driving.
No, it was the other
involved in that.
vehicle that came at me. And I tried to avoid it. And it didn't work.
All right, I don't know too much about that case. But even now, she's like, well, it wasn't my fault. And the drunk person isn't the best person to determine whether they were at fault or not. I don't know any of the facts in that case, but January of that year was.
Mainly just wanted to highlight the offense time frame.
If this was a second offense, she would have to do 5 days in jail. By national highway standards, you have to give everybody at least 5 days, which I did not do recently in a case, which I'm going to need to rectify. You did 1 day jail. I'm going to order 5 days jail, credit 1, leaving 4 days to serve. Hopefully that will satisfy Kalamazoo. I'm going to let the probation department schedule these days. You're on a 2-month probation while we supervise this jail time. I'm going to do a 12-month probation. We'll try this. I'm not even sure you can do this. I'm going to make the fine 0. There's a $75 crime victims' rights fee, $50 state minimum fee, $150 screening fee, $480 probation oversight fee, $120 police reimbursement, and the victim impact panel. That's $32. The fine is 0. The rest of it's bad enough. It adds up to $1,007. Doing 1 year. We're gonna try a probation, which is not a sobriety court probation. On one hand, you don't want to go to jail, and I don't blame you there. On the other hand, you don't want to be on probation either. So I can't just pat you on the head and say, please don't do this anymore. And if it was a second offense, I would be required to order 2 days. My also hope is this will satisfy Kalamazoo, and if I put you on my probation, they may terminate you from their probation. Mr. Moore, I want you to take that downstairs to the probation department. We'll report to Kalamazoo what happened, and that may satisfy Judge Ankley. I'm not sure, but
I have a date for my probation violation up there.
we'll share this information with them.
24th.
All right, you're free to go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Or you really treated.
I know.
Right.
Yes,
All right.
yes, I
Take
thank
care.
you. Thank you.